Now, hello, here we go. So, this is the second rendition of Coffee Time with Oliver Jeffers. I am now just trying to figure out who I want to invite, and I remember that it is my friend Caitriona who I have invited, and we're just waiting for her to accept, and there she is.
Hello!
Caitriona. Only joking, Caitriona. How often do people mispronounce your name?
All
the time?
Get this. There we go. It's doing something. Oh, there we go. Yeah, all the bloody time. I get Kate a lot these days.
Kate, yeah.
Which is not my name.
No. I sometimes get Owen, which is, sort of just extremely lazy because it's a vaguely Irish-sounding name that starts with an O. Now, how are you? Have you got a cup of tea in front of you?
Huh?
Have you got a cup of tea or coffee in front of you?
I've got some herbal tea. I'm up very early in the morning, so it's like some nighttime tea. I'm good. I was out in the wilds all day.
The wilds of Scotland. I was going to say you're in Glasgow currently.
I'm in Glasgow. We were shooting out on in a field today that had a wind coming from a mountain that was covered in snow, and it was bloody Baltic.
They do say about the summer in Ireland and Scotland, it's just the wind comes from a different direction. That's all.
I know.
So
how are you?
I'm keeping all right. Yes. All things considered, we've moved into a new place here in Hollywood, County Louth, just outside Belfast. We're going to be here for a little while. It's like, this pandemic has caused an awful lot of change in everybody's lives, and some good, some bad, and we move around it.
I mean, the two of us have always traveled so much, and now we've both been stuck. And I was kind of thinking about that, and I was like thinking about what have you learned about yourself in this time?
Patience, I think. Patience, but yes, it's because you're from Monaghan, which is just down the road from where I grew up. But we didn't meet there. We met in New York City, and actually we met in New York City.
We met at a very bougie dinner.
Yeah, very bougie dinner, but it was at the tail end of your time in New York, and then you went to LA. And I was thinking back last night to your place in LA, because I was crashing with you at one point, and together with our friend Donald, we gate crashed an Oscar party. Do you remember that?
I do.
Yeah, it was always travel with a tuxedo. Always travel with a tuxedo. You never know when it'll come around. That was a good night.
Did we not gate crash a few Oscar parties?
Yeah, we might have all in the same night. Yeah, we were on a roll. I suppose you were with us, Caitriona, but that was before you were Caitriona Balfe. And I do have to say, there is a funny story about how you know, or how you found out that the role in Outlander was yours.
Oh yeah, well,
do you think this is
a good one. I don't think the true version has ever really been told, so I'll let you tell it.
Well, we were supposed to go to India together, Suzanne, my wife, and our friend Donal, who introduced us, and you had sent your passport off to the Indian embassy to get the visa to go, but they lost your passport.
No, they didn't lose it. It was in processing for a very, very long time.
I mean, a really long time, because we all applied 3 months before. You then said, guys, I don't think I'm going to have my passport back to join you, so I'll meet you at the second stage. I think at that point it was Varanasi, and then we went to Varanasi, and you were like, guys, I still don't have my passport back. I'll have to meet you in Delhi, and it was like still not back. And then you're like, guys, I don't know what's going on. It's like, I think I might have to meet you in Goa, and that's where we left Donal. And at that point, you had been called back for a second audition, I think.
Yeah.
And my memory of it is that Donal had been just traveling around with Suzanne and I, and we dropped him at this wellness retreat, and it did feel a little bit like dropping your kid off at summer camp, because he'd been with us the whole time, and we looked in the cupboard and there was only paper underpants in there in the hotel room.
I think there was a lot of detaxing.
Yeah, healing. Yes,
a lot of detoxing, a lot of purging.
And this we'll get Donal on at one of these to tell his version of the story, because he was mid purge with a certain type of cleanse, and he was getting texts through from a friend of his who was doing wardrobe who'd been sent your sizes. And she was like, I think Caitriona got the part. And so he texted you, and you were like, no, I haven't heard anything.
I was like, no, nobody's told me anything. I'm not listening. And he was like, no, I'm pretty sure they have your sizes.
Yeah. And then she says, let me check. And so you found out that you got the part, I think, from your friend Donald lying on his back in paper underpants in Goa, and that you'd got the part. I've always liked that.
Oh, Donald's going to love that we told that story.
I know. Well, I'll get him on.
Look at your cup.
Oh, yes.
Look at that.
This was one of the classic.
China.
It is. It's a street find of New York.
Oh,
so
wow.
it was like on trash night, you go around and people, free cycling. You don't really throw anything away. You put it on the street on a certain night, and people take what they want. And I took that cup, and I did break it once, but I glued it back together because it is my favorite cup. But yeah, the Donald, as I say, we'll get him on to tell his version of that story. But your name also, you popped into my brain the other day because I remember that you gave me the second finest haircut I've ever had in my life. When do
you know that I use that to try and have somebody else let me cut their hair? They absolutely refuse, and I'm like, but Oliver said it was the second best. Well, at the time,
it was the best. It was the best until 2 days ago, I give myself a haircut. And because
I think I might still be in contention for that.
Yeah, I think it might be because I missed the whole bit at the back because she was having none of it, and the kids were distracting her, and so I walked around for 2 days. Nobody told me, but I had a rat tail. I couldn't see it.
Very hipster these days. It's very in. I gave you and Donald very good haircuts at Coachella.
Yes,
this was also one of our finer trips.
That was one of our finer trips, and I have one memory where we're in a car driving along, and you'd lived in LA for some point. We'd lived in New York for some point, and my cousin Rain was visiting, and he was with us, and he was the only person in the car who did not have a driver's license, and said, "Are you okay if I tell this story?"
Yeah, go on.
And he said everybody in the car was Irish, and he was visiting just for a week, and he just said, "Guys, we're not supposed to be driving on the other side of the road." And we were. And the only
this is why I am one of California's worst drivers.
Oh, brilliant!
My God.
So Glasgow, you've been there for a while. You've been locked in, locked down, and today is World Book Day.
I know. Happy World Book Day.
Happy World Book Day, and you were doing a book club.
Yes, and I actually owe a book club. We're gonna catch up on that very soon. But yeah, it's been one of the really cool things about lockdown. We started probably in March of last year, and it's just been really nice. It's just been having this community of people to read books with, and then it's sort of weird. I want to be able to do it in person because at some point I sort of feel like I'm talking to myself, but people send in lots of questions and they write lots of comments, and from that it'll spark,
What started it? Just the idea that you like talking about books? And
yeah, and I was in lockdown, and one of the great things about Outlander is that there is this online community that you talk with, and there's a lot of the people that you sort of get to know, and you see them say things, and one of the they're all big readers, and that's one of the things that you kind of end up talking to people about. And I would always sort of, if I'd read a good book, I'd be like, oh my God, this book is amazing. And
a question for you: have you ever not finished a book? Have you ever just given up on a book?
In my life? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I used to not be able to do that because I felt like a commitment to the book once I'd started.
Yeah, it's not very often, but there's a couple of times I've done it.
Yeah, and then my dad pointed out once, was like, if you were to read every single book that you enjoy, you won't have enough time in your life, so why waste your time on books that you're not enjoying? Which I've taken to absolute heart.
It's funny, there's been a couple of books that infuriate me, but I feel like I still have to get to the end. I think it's, if I'm just not connecting with the writing, and usually it's the style of writing. I think sometimes I find that, a story can be clunky or there can be holes, and you can forgive that kind of thing. But if the style of writing isn't something that moves me, I think that's...
I counter you with this. Yeah, I come to you with this. I, on my dad's insistence, finished reading Catch 22, and it's probably one of my favorite books of all time. But there's a rare example where the style of writing is basically the heart of the book. It's sort of written in this really broken kind of chopped up, slightly insane type of, it's noise. It's like
Well,
to
it's like a
compare it to
stream of
classical.
consciousness almost.
It's like discordant jazz.
Yeah.
But because out of that cacophony of noise comes this beautiful crescendo, and because it comes out of nowhere, it's like a physical reaction you have to the book. But that wouldn't have happened had the writing style not been so weird. And that was one of the reasons I was like, well, is every book that I don't like going to end up this way? The answer is no. But
No.
that was one of the rare examples where it really stayed through. And so are you reading a book at the minute?
I am, and it's going to be the next one that I'm choosing. I might as well tell you because I'm going to post a video later tonight on the book club thing. But I'm reading Conundrum, Jan Morris.
Oh, okay. I know it's up, but I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah, so it was written in the 70s, and it was about her transition, or kind of about her.
Oh, I don't know the author at all. Then I was thinking of somebody else.
Yeah, so Jan Morris, she died very recently. I think it was like in early summer, maybe, like of last year. One of the most fascinating lives. A journalist, travel writer, just an amazing author. Authored about 20 books over her lifetime, but was transsexual. So she transitioned in the 60s. Sort of 70s, when it was really rare and really, not kind of like in the conversation, and people weren't really talking about it. And it's just this really fascinating look at somebody's journey and the courage that she had. And I don't know, I think right now there's it's a really heated conversation.
There's a lot of discourse at the minute, but I think that's better than silence.
Oh, of course, but it's very.
And that's the way it was, and I do. I'm an eternal optimist, and I've always thought that yes, things seem really dark and rough, and there's a lot of hatred and anger in the world, but there's always been that. And look at how far society has come. Even like when was homosexuality legalized in Ireland? It was not that long ago.
No.
And we have come such a long way, and I think the point is not to forget those things. And it's that old saying, like the opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. We're past the point of indifference now. There's no longer silence, so we're getting somewhere. I think that's amazing.
Yeah. So the book is fantastic, and again, talking about style, it's obviously a lot more. It's still in quite a traditional style, but just the way that she describes things and the way that she's able to express her feelings and explain it in such a just clear and precise way. It's just a beautiful book. So highly recommend it. That's going to be my next choice.
As somebody who's, you're a visual person and you're it's all about physical presence and theater and television. When you're reading a book, do you have a hard time sort of stop imagining what this would be like if you were seeing it on screen, or do you just let yourself in?
No, it's weird. I tend to, unless I'm reading something with the intention of, could I do this, or could this be something that could be made?
You just get lost in it.
Then otherwise I get lost in it. And some books will be very cinematic, and they will just automatically put kind of like a film in your head, and you can see it. But other books just are more evocative of emotion.
Right? Yeah. So you're not seeing it, you're feeling it. As much
exactly.
As no, I do. I always prefer to read a book before I know there's a film of it to watch that, because too often if you read the book after film, your head is already filled with the characters, the actors that were cast by the director. And, but as a book person, are there any films of a book that are better than the book, in your opinion? I ask this a lot with librarians and booksellers, and there's only one answer that people have ever really given, and they all seem to agree on it, and that's The Godfather. Mario Puzo wrote the book.
Oh yeah.
People say that the film is better than the book. That's the only one I can think of.
I never read The Godfather. I read one of his other books. Omerta, is that one of his as well? Yeah, I think I read that. I've obviously seen The Godfather. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not. it's funny. I tend to like, I tend to be able to, I think mediums are very different. You know, there's one thing that a book exists in its own way, and then when you see a film, like I'm not usually a puritanist about, oh, they didn't stay completely true to, because I think it has to evolve and have its own life.
No, completely. And actually, with Studio AK and Philip Hunt, who's the director of both Lost and Found and Here We Are, very, very early on in our relationship, we're like, there's no point in just making a moving version of this book, because that would be robbing the film of an opportunity. And so right from step one, we're like, the film has to be its own thing. It has to do things that the book can't. And that's the way that we went. And so they sort of live separately. They're more like siblings than
Yeah. And do you feel like, because I'm sure that's really strange as an author. I mean, is that a conscious decision that you had to make and sort of be like, right, I have to relinquish control and I'll probably be happier? Or
absolutely.
is that something?
No, it is. It's a very, very deliberate decision, but that's about trust, and all collaboration is about trust, and sort of agreeing with the person who you trust and whose work you respect, that the goal or the project that you have in mind is greater than either of your egos.
Yeah.
So it's a tough collaboration when somebody else insists on being right, you know?
Yeah. No, it's interesting because obviously you've worked with Sarah Crossan before, and I'm working with her.
Oh, yes, you're doing Here Comes the Beehive?
Yeah, so we're in early stages of development, and Sarah's actually writing the screenplay, which is really interesting.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, yeah.
But even for her, she's amazing. But she was kind of like, the book is the book, and I want to almost do something different with this. I feel like I've still more answers or questions to answer and things like that with the screenplay. And it was almost a chance for her to sort of revisit this book in a very different way. So, which I thought was really interesting.
I think one of the best lines about art I've ever heard came from The Simpsons, and it's when Marge takes an art class, and the sort of the snotty art professor is walking around, and he's looking at somebody paint. He goes, "And stop! It belongs to the ages now." And it's true. It's whenever a piece of work is complete as far as the artist is concerned, they put it wherever it goes, and then it's public discourse. It's not up to you how somebody else feels about your work, and so to be protective of that, I think is a missed opportunity. So that Sarah sees that is a brilliant thing. Actually, I was working with the EDM crew in Paris, the lithography place.
Yeah.
They had worked with a whole bunch of fabulous artists right back through the day in Paris, and I got some anecdotes of how some of the artists there, like Matisse and Cézanne, would often go into some of the museums that their work was in and attempt to touch up a piece.
No way.
Because they, as far as they were concerned, it's incomplete. But yeah, you got to let it go at some point.
Well, do you think that that's something that you've that's come to you with a sort of age and maturity and maybe confidence in your work, or
I think so. I think it's confidence and self-awareness, and it's funny how actually it's trying to get something back that you had as a kid, which is lacking self-awareness. Yeah. And I watch my kids draw, and they don't care. They're having fun. They're like, it's done. I'm like, great. But then the older you get, you become more aware of what other people think, and you start to try and bend towards that. So your work is bending, and it's less of a conversation between you and the piece of work. But I think over the years and just through various experiences, I've got to, I think, a pretty special place of, I care about having a conversation, but I also care more about the conversation with the piece of work rather than with the public's conversation with that
afterwards. The noise afterwards.
Yeah.
No, it's funny. Even as an actor, I think as I get older and as I'm working more and sort of more confident in my work, it stops being necessarily goal orientated. You stop kind of like chasing this thing that you think you have to get, and you just want to feel like in the moment that you're being as honest and free as possible. And it's like, you can't really, I used to get so wound up and angry if I didn't feel like a scene went exactly like I thought it was supposed to.
Oh my goodness, Caitriona, no thing I've ever created has ended up the way that I imagined it would start. Yeah. Not a single thing. Then you react to what happens as it goes. It's that's the tricky thing. It's, whenever I talk to art college students, I tell them the secret to life is to stop caring what other people think.
Yeah. And you just have to like allow it to be what it is and be okay with that, because there is no right and wrong, that's the thing. And it's like,
Yeah,
you
I
know.
do love that. Whenever I first met Suzanne, my wife, she'd never met anybody who did anything like make art or be creative before, and she studied engineering. And she was asking, was like, but how do you grade art? How do you give art a mark out of 100? And I was like, yeah, I don't really know. That's a good point. I suppose it all comes up with a blurb that you put out to support it. But
That's a
yeah,
question for all of our high school art teachers.
yeah,
How
it's
did
a
you grade
tricky
that?
intention. I think intention.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, look, Caitriona, these are always short little chats. I don't want to take up too much of your time, and I will
It's so
let you
nice
get
to
back.
see you. I miss
It's
you
so nice to
guys
see
so
you too. I
much.
know, I know. Well, whenever travel opens up again, we're only a short ferry ride from you.
Yeah, well, we're literally a 35-minute flight.
Yeah,
It doesn't even go up all the way.
yeah. I wonder if we could get up to the top of the cave hill in a hang glider if the wind was blowing in the right direction. Right. Give Scotland my best. Look
All
after yourself,
right,
and
I
we'll talk
will.
soon. Bye bye.
Bye. I don't know how to turn it off.
I don't know how to turn it off either. It's not doing it. Okay. Goodbye, everyone. Instagram is broken. This won't turn off. I'm just going to have to hang this up, which is really sad because that means I don't know if I can save it. The button's not broken or it's not working. I'm tapping. Come on. Oh, this is very sad. If I just quit, it's going to lose. I'm not going to be able to share it with anybody.